Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, mate.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get me.
Yeah, your mic's gone off, mate.
It says it's unmuted, but video's not working for some reason.
Yeah, it's all right.
Bloody technology, I tell you.
Is there a little video button down the bottom?
Oh, wait up. No, wait up. I've got it now. There we go.
There we go. How are we doing, mate?
How are you? Very good. Yourself?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you for coming on and having a chat with me, mate. I really appreciate you giving me your time.
No dramas at all. Sorry, it's taken a while, but yeah, just had some shit going on the last few weeks. So.
Yeah, no, that's all good, mate. Completely understand, mate. You know, you're a busy man these days. So I'll just give you a rundown of what my page is about, mate. So I go to local games over here in WA, juniors, seniors, take photos and videos and do reports on games and stuff like that. Yep. Also share the local club's news and events that are coming up. Trying to get more people involved in the game, but also share the NRL stuff to keep everyone updated with their clubs and stuff like that that's going on.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what I try to do, and just trying to get more people involved in rugby league in Perth, mate. You know,
I played a game for Queensland residents over in Perth. When was it? It would have been 2004, I think it was. So
yeah, right. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it seems like forever ago.
Yeah, I bet it does. We'll jump into your career, mate.
Yep.
So you played 261 NRL games.
Yep.
Played one for New South Wales and 3 for country New South Wales.
Yep.
Is there anything that you look back in your career that you took out of your career that's made you into the person that you are today?
It's probably hard to pinpoint one, but I think and something I probably tried to take into it when I was starting was, hard work and discipline. And I suppose when you train them 6-7 days a week and you got to be here at a certain time and do everything, you sort of, if you don't have that discipline or that sort of stuff, you can fall away pretty quickly. So I think that certainly enhanced my discipline, but it's something I've, since taken out and tried to, I'm one of them people that I hate being late for things. I'm always, it was always, if you're on time, you're late. So it was, I'm generally, and my wife hates it where, like, if we've got a party or something to go to, we're always the first ones there. So
yeah, I'm the same, mate. I'm the exact same. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you make your debut 06 for Penrith. You end up going to Cronulla, Parramatta, Roosters, and then finish your career at Titans.
Yep.
Do you remember your debut game for the Panthers against the Sharks?
I do. So I went down at the end of 2004. So I had the whole 2005 season playing reserve grade at Penrith, and then got my chance in round 8, 2006. And I remember the occasion. Well, obviously you remember your debut, but it was they were opening the new part of the stadium at Panthers. So it was like a big deal for the club, and obviously for me, I only found out the day of the game, which was good. I didn't have all the week to be nervous and build up to the game. So I found out I was going down to play Reggie's, and then I got told I was playing first grade. So it was probably a good thing I didn't have all week to panic and get nervous. And I remember we got flogged. So, yeah, it wasn't very memorable, but it was still, you never forget your first one.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Absolutely. I mean, I remember you, like, watching your career, like, especially early on when you're playing for the Panthers, it was always you and Lachlan Coote always fight for that fullback spot. These are both great goal kickers as well. And it was just, and then I think both of you ended up doing your knees at different times and sort of left a spot open for each other. And
yeah, it was funny because I never played wing or fullback my whole life. And I debuted in the centres and then played mainly wing or fullback my whole time at Penrith. So it was weird. But I suppose if they asked you to play front row, you'd play wherever to play A grade. So,
yep, absolutely, mate. With your career, mate, is there anything you sort of look back on and go, wow, I had an amazing career, or maybe I could have done this better, or this went a great way?
It's sort of a tricky question. I feel, the goal was to play one game and then, to get to play 261. Obviously, it's not until I do things like this where I look, because, I was never a big footy head. Like, I'm back home now, like, grew up on the beach, surfing, doing whatever. And, I just love playing footy on the weekends, but it was never something I took super seriously or anything like that. And then, to have the career I did, I feel pretty lucky to play as long as I did and play that many games. So.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I watched your career. I love the way you played the game. You were awesome. Especially goal kicking as well. I mean, when I played juniors, I was a goal kicker as well.
Yeah.
I love the way you were able to strike the ball every time you kicked. When you play for New South Wales, mate, you only got the one game, but how big of a moment was that for you?
It was, again, you want to play one first grade game. And then, as a kid, I was a diehard New South Welshman. And, getting the opportunity to play that, even though it was a dead rubber for me, it was, the most amazing experience. And then again, it was a dead rubber, so it didn't really mean anything. But to me, it meant the world, and played in that era of Queensland's dominance when, they had Thurston, Lockyer, Slater, Cameron Smith, Petro. Like, the team was, to play against that team, I look back and go, yeah, shit, that was pretty special. So,
yeah. How was it going into camp, in the New South Wales camp that week?
It's interesting because I'm always nervous before games, like I have been since I can remember. And that was when I went into that game. I wasn't nervous at all. I think it was because, you're around, all the rep players and all the top quality players. You sort of, I don't know, you feel comfortable in a way. But that was probably the first time I remember not being nervous before a game and thinking, wow, this is either a really good sign or a really bad sign. So, and then, that was the sort of the time at Penrith where, I got one. That was game 3, 2010. And then going to 2011, I was probably in better form and probably a better chance of getting picked again. And then that's when I had done my knee on the weekend of selection too. So then I missed that whole series 2011, and then the next year I broke my leg. So I pretty much had 2 years back to back where I missed a chance of selection, and then I sort of not put myself out of the frame, but I was sort of like, that was my opportunity to cement a spot, and then never really got the chance again. But I have no regrets at all. So
yeah, awesome. I mean, to be able to represent your state, mate, it's a hell of an achievement. Whether you play one game or 50 games, it's a hell of an achievement to do.
Yeah, well, that's it. And then I remember the stat used to be something like the average NRL career was like 41 games or something. So to play 260 odd was pretty amazing. And then how many of them get to play Origin? Not many. So
Exactly.
again, massive honor, and something very proud of.
Yeah, that's the way, mate. Absolutely. When you were a kid, mate, did you have someone that you idolized, or someone who was your biggest influence, not just in your footy career, but in life in general?
Oh, I had a few. The most obvious one was my mum. I know it might sound funny, but she, single mum raising 3 kids. I'm sure we're all little rat bags as we all are as kids. And but just whenever, I didn't make many rep teams, but whenever we had to travel or do anything like that, she would always drive me, and she was always basically made sure I always got where I needed to. And and now being a parent myself and driving the kids around, we've got football in the morning, netball in the arvo, stuff like that. It sort of makes you realise, bloody hell, she was Wonder Woman back then. So
yep, absolutely, mate. Is there during your career, maybe not just in your NRL career, but just in life in general, mate? Was there like a low point where you maybe went into maybe a sort of depression or something like that? And if so, how did you get out of it?
I wouldn't say ever, not like depression wise, but I suppose I started playing when I was 6 or 7, and then got to, I think it was about 15, and as most kids, they discover girls and other things and all that sort of stuff. So I gave it up for a year, and then I couldn't last the full season. I'd go and watch the games, and I was like, no, bugger this, I need to play. And yeah, that was probably the only time where I always just loved playing footy, but I was never so much like into footy sort of thing. But that was the first time that I remember going, I just didn't want a bar of it sort of thing. But yeah, like I said, it didn't last long. And then there was only other one time in NRL when I was having some dramas at the Sharks, just with the coach, and basically just that was the only time where I was like, mate, I'm over footy. I was ready to retire. I was ready to go overseas. I was ready to do anything, So it ended up working out fine. But at the time, there was probably a 2-week period where I was just hated going to training and everything like that. But apart from that, never really never had any issues. So
yeah, cool. Well, that's good. That's lucky, mate. You're very lucky these days.
yeah.
And that sort of goes into my next part of that question is, mental health issues these days being such a big thing. Do you have any advice for people that are going through that sort of stuff?
It's a tricky one because it's such an individual thing, and mental health, and especially men's mental health, is it seems like it's getting better, like the stigma around it and that sort of stuff. But it's it was always the man thing. You hide your feelings, you do all that, and it's hard for blokes to bring that sort of stuff up. But I think it's you just got to have more than one focus in life. If it is footy, if you just got footy and nothing else, then if that's not going well, then it's easy to slide into that. Whereas I was always sort of active outside of footy, whether it was I was still surfing's probably my thing I love doing the most, but like whether it was playing different sports or tennis or golf or anything, but just I was always staying active, like doing business course, like just doing stuff that would keep me stimulated outside of footy, because you train all day and that, but then you do have lots of periods of time where you've just got free time to yourself. So if you've only got one focus and that's footy, then, or whatever it is in life, it's easy, if that's not going well, to fall into that trap, I reckon. So I think just keeping your mind active, and it's easy just to say, go out and be happy, but it doesn't work like that, So I think keeping your mind stimulated would definitely be a massive thing.
Yeah, cool. No, that's brilliant advice, mate. I mean, I've suffered from depression myself, and that sort of advice I didn't even think of at the time. But yeah.
Well, and it's easy just to say get out and be active, but once you're in that depressed state, nothing motivates you, and you don't want to do anything. You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to talk to people. So it's an easy spiral to go down, But I think you're obviously having a good support network around you, whether it's friends or family or whatever, and even just being able to talk to. Yeah, I think the hardest thing is starting the conversation to start with, and I think if you can get that, that's the hardest part, is telling someone that you've got a problem. And I think once you get to that point, then you're halfway there. I think it's realizing that you've got a problem and being able to talk about it. I reckon that's the first massive step to trying to fix it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Beautiful advice. You're going back to when you were at the Panthers, mate. Fighting, not literally fighting, but fighting with Lachlan Coote for that sort of fullback role. And obviously both of you are great goal kickers as well. How did you find that time, that period in the career?
It's funny because, like I said, I'd never played fullback before, but then I got a taste of it, and I just liked the freedom of it. It was when I first started playing fullback, the game was a lot different to what it is now. Like fullbacks are, even though they're one of your most important players on the field, it's so defense orientated now. Like you've got to organise defensive lines and numbers and splits, and because most teams run the same sort of stuff, so you've got to know where to put players, and it's so technical defensively, like about field position and one marker, two markers, splitting players, swapping your back. Yeah, it gets super technical. But when I was first playing, it was just follow the ball basically, and then turn up whenever you're needed. So one thing, you had to be fit, and then with Cootie, it was like, because he's a gun fullback and always has been. So it was, for us, it was never, there was never any animosity or anything like that. It was just we both wanted to play it, and when I wasn't, we were still the best of friends outside of it. So
yeah, awesome. No, that's cool, mate. Just like for the people that eventually will watch this, mate, can you give us any insight of the day-to-day life of being in the NRL environment?
Yeah, so obviously pre-season and in-season are completely different. So pre-season's generally Monday to Friday and most Saturday mornings. And it's, for me, it was get up, have breakfast, make sure you're hydrated. I'd always get in. If training started at 8, I'd be there at 7, doing your pre-ab and your stretching. And because you just, pretty much from Monday to Friday, you're getting flogged every day. So obviously recovery is massive. So it's like, they want you to run as far and as fast for as long as you can, and then you have a break, and then you go into the gym and try and lift as heavy as you can on repeat for 6 to 8 weeks. So your body just, first week of preseason brutal. I'd always try and come back knowing that whatever fitness test we were doing, I could pass it, but you're never in peak shape day one of preseason, and it's the blokes who would come back out of shape, they would just always doing extras, and you could just see it was like, mate, it would have been absolute torture. And me being a smaller bloke, never had to worry too much about that. But just one of those things, just an absolute grind. Like, and you just every day getting out of bed, like just, I don't want to do this, But once you start going, you warm up and you're feeling all right, and you get going again, and it's basically just a full battle of attrition. You're trying not to break down while you're trying to get as fit and as strong as you can. So obviously just eating heaps, drinking heaps of water, and trying to look after your body. And then in season, obviously, it just depends what day your game is, sort of thing. Like, say, if you're playing Friday and then the next game's a Sunday, then you might get the weekend off and then you're prepping again. But then if you play Sunday into a Friday, it's purely recovery. You might have one field session in that week, So a lot of it these days is because there's so much sports science and GPS and all that sort of data. I think all clubs go overboard with it, but because a lot of them just look at the data now and go, oh, you've run too much or not enough and that sort of thing. So I always just sort of went off how I felt. If I felt good, I'd try my hardest. If I didn't feel good, I'd just try and get through the session, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I suppose, and then nutrition in season is probably the biggest one. You have a game, you've absolutely killed yourself, and you always want that Macca's or KFC after a game, and but then you can't eat that the night before a game. Otherwise it's like a Ferrari. You're not going to put bloody shit petrol in a Ferrari. You want it to be performing at its best. So it's a massive thing, and it was something that was never really a big thing early in my career. No one really eat carbs, and that was it really. But now it's with all the sports scientists and datas and that, the information you get, and every club's pretty much got a nutritionist and all that sort of stuff. So you're getting the best advice of what to eat to perform your best and what's the best to eat, post recovery and all that sort of stuff. So the information's there. It's just whether you choose to use it or not.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. No, that's beautiful. Like, for the people that will watch it, mate, hopefully they take something out of that. Nutrition is a big thing. And like, we'll go back to the mental health sort of stuff. Nutrition is a big thing for that too.
Your gut controls your emotions a lot of the time. So if you're eating shit, you feel like shit. So if you're eating good and you're training, you feel good. So it makes sense when you think about it. You are what you eat is the old saying. So
yep, absolutely. Have you got any advice for kids coming up these days, mate? Like, not just in sports, but in life in itself. I mean, I'm personally a dad of 12. Have you got any advice for, me to pass on to my kids, or kids that will watch this?
Again, it was like I was saying about them. It's just not putting all your eggs in one basket. Like every young footy player or whatever it is wants to be an NRL player, but I think the stats show it was. Say if you've got 20 kids, one of them will make it, at best, sort of thing. So it's don't put your, and that's I know there was a lot of with the under 20s, a lot of mental health issues around that sort of stuff, because I didn't mind what they did with the 20s, but they got rid of basically the genuine reserve grade. So kids would go from under 20s being on TV thinking they were superstars and then not making the NRL, and a lot of them would go into bad depressions, and there was a handful of suicides and that sort of stuff. So I think because and it was pretty rife with the Polynesian kids, because they're so big on family, and if one kid makes it, he provides for the family and stuff like that. So I think when that falls through and they've got no backup plan, that's when a lot of them would spiral out of control. So
yeah, right. Yeah, cool. No, that's beautiful advice, mate. With the 17th team coming in, the Dolphins, mate, the NRL they'll look at having an 18th team pretty soon. They don't want uneven numbers. We reckon Perth chances of becoming that 18th team.
Oh, I love. I've been to Perth 3 times and absolutely love it over there. I've got some really close mates that are from WA and stuff, and it just makes sense because it's such a booming economy. The population's growing over there. It makes sense, and I think they were talking about maybe relocating a team, which I wouldn't have a problem with. But I think whether it's the Perth Sharks or the North Sydney Bears go to Perth, something like that, I think that probably makes more sense than a whole new franchise. But at the same time, you've got so much business involvement and a lot of mining companies and that over in WA that are keen to jump on board. So I think the money wouldn't be an issue for them getting a team up and running. It's just. But then they've showed when they've taken games over there, they get the crowds and that. So it makes complete sense, So I think it should happen sooner rather than later. I think, and the only criticism they got with the Dolphins coming in is, the talent pool at the moment. They're like, you see your sort of top 4 to 6 teams are pretty much the same teams every year, and your bottom teams are the same. So it's like, is there enough talent across the playing group? But there's always the next crop of young kids coming through. I suppose we're sort of in that transition now with your likes of Cameron Smith and Cronk and Thursons and all them just retiring in the last sort of 3 to 4 years. So there's been this group that have been playing for 20 years now. All of a sudden, most of them are gone, and it's like, well, who's the next young superstars coming through, sort of thing. So every year there's always breakout stars. So I suppose they just got to keep relying on them coming through. So
yeah, do you think a draft system would benefit newer teams coming through though?
It's hard. I think there's definitely pros and cons to the draft. I know they've toyed with the idea before, but I think their argument was, say, North Queensland. If you got young North Queensland juniors and then they get drafted to Melbourne or something like that, it's like if they're young kids from rural North Queensland, they should be playing for the Cowboys, But the AFL seems to make it work, and kids generally from Melbourne or Adelaide get drafted to the Suns or Brisbane, but then they sort of end up back down where they want to, So there's definitely pros and cons to it. So what's the right answer? I don't know. That's above my pay grade. So
yeah, no, definitely. Well, I mean, me personally, with the Perth team for one, I think like you said, it makes sense. Like, to be a national competition, we need to have a team on the West Coast. And the game over here is ridiculously followed. We've seen with the State of Origin 2 years ago, they packed out the 60,000 seat stadium, which is an AFL stadium.
Yeah,
and they're going to do it again this year.
Well, and I think it's the Bunnies that take games over there, and they always seem like there was one game where it was torrential rain, but it was still nearly a full stadium. It's like they're obviously crying out for it, so give the people what they want.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the stadium that they played at then has been upgraded. I think it's to hold 25,000 people, I think. I could be wrong, could be a bit less, but it's been upgraded to hold like a proper stadium.
Yeah.
So the stuff here, the government's put in money to, sort of put these sort of things in place for, if we can have a team. With the draft stuff, like you said, the AFL seem to make it work. I think it would spread the talent around, so then the teams down the bottom can move up the top. They're not stuck down there.
I think the way it works is, the bottom teams obviously get higher draft picks and all that sort of stuff, and then if you've got a new franchise coming in, then you pretty much, and the AFL do it well. They just throw endless money at them, and go and get what you need to be successful, because no one wants a new team to come in and then be coming last or whatever. They want a new team coming in and hit the ground running and being successful. So
exactly. I mean, you've seen with the Dolphins, they've only been able to sign Felice Kafusi. No one else has taken the bait. They've, the Roosters have got Brandon Smith. So they've, it's one of those things. Like it's, the other thing too is they need to maybe have a trade period as well, where they could, the Dolphins could go, okay, we'll trade our number 1 pick for number 1 and 2 pick for Brandon Smith. So then the Melbourne have the juniors coming through. So that's just my thoughts on it. Hopefully.
Well, it seems like I thought, once November 1 hit, that there'd be this big signing spree, and I'm sure player managers are trying to get a lot of their players to the Dolphins, but it's probably that that one marquee man that will go, yep, I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be the face of the franchise, and they haven't really got it yet. Felice Kafus is a great player, but he's not yet your marquee signing. Like, he plays for Queensland and Australia, so he's definitely a great player, but he's not your Kalen Ponga or someone like that, So
yeah, and that's the thing. There's all these guys like Joey Manu's just re-signed with the Roosters. Kalen Ponga's not going to leave Newcastle anytime soon. So it's kind of making it hard for them at the moment.
Well, that's it. How many marquee players are coming off contract? That's the thing. It doesn't seem like many are, So
no, and they want to stay where they are, so it makes it difficult for Titans, but for the Dolphins. Sorry. What are you up to these days, mate? Are you got any business interests or anything like
that? Yeah. So I own a little coffee shop down in my hometown, local hometown that I grew up in. So that keeps me fairly busy. And then I was doing coaching and stuff with my junior club this year. So and then I'll be doing a similar sort of role next year. And then we're in the process of, they've got this big shed there and they want to turn it into a gym really. So I'm basically organising all that, and we're going to do it properly and turn it into a proper high performance center sort of thing with hot and cold spas and fit world-class gym and all that sort of stuff. So between those two things lately, I've been pretty flat out, but it's just been hard because we've been going in and out of lockdowns and all that sort of shit over here. So it's just been a real shit fight for everyone, and but yeah, that's sort of my plans for for the foreseeable future. Anyway, now that I'm back home, I'm where I grew up. I'm so comfortable being here, and all my friends I grew up with are here, so it made sense for me to do something locally, So
yeah. What's the name of your coffee shop, mate? And whereabouts is it for the people that do watch? They come over and have a watch.
It's called Cartel Espresso, and it's in Cabarita Beach, which is in New South Wales. We're right near the Queensland border, but yeah, we're New South Wales. So.
Yeah, nice, awesome, mate. Yeah, well, hopefully, some of the viewers that watch it, they can go over and grab a coffee off you, mate.
Pop in and have a coffee, and it's funny, like with the border, we're literally 10 minutes from Coolangatta Airport, but I can fly to America before I can cross the border. It's like it's ridiculous. It's so stupid. So.
Yeah. Good luck trying to get into Perth, mate.
Yeah, I know. I'll have to smuggle over the border through bloody Northern Territory or something like that. So.
That's it, mate. No, that's it, mate. That's all I've got for you today, mate. Like I said, mate, I really appreciate you coming on and having a chat with me. I know you're a busy man, being a dad as well. But yeah, good luck with everything, mate. And
kids are in school at the moment. That's why I was like, during the day, I try and do all my work in the morning after they leave, and then I usually have an hour or two to myself before they get home. So it's actually pissing down rain here at the moment. So I was going to go for a surf, but there's not much around at the moment. So I'll just keep up with my domestic chores and continue on with the dad life. But maybe we'll try and do one again either at the start of the season or during the season next year, and have a bit of a footy update or something like that.
That'd be great, mate. I really appreciate that.
No, it's no dramas at all. So
yeah, cool, man.
Like
I really appreciate
for me, it's like I love having the career, but for me, being back here, I still love watching footy, but it's not the same as when you're fully immersed in it, So every now and then, when I get to have a chat like this and bring up the memories, it's a nice thing, So
yeah, cool. No, I'm glad I was able to do that for you.
No, all good.
No, thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll have a chat when the season gets closer.
Too easy.
Thanks, mate. Have a good day.
Too easy, mate. Thank you. Cheers.
See ya.
Yeah.